Welcome to TechbrothersIT. In this video, we are going to answer this question, and actually, we are going to explain a little more details so you can understand the Azure Data Factory billing. So the question can be, hey, can you please explain billing in Azure Data Factory? So you have to explain like, okay, how much or different types of billing available for Azure Data Factory, how much you are charged for each of the activity, and what are different type of activities you will be charged for. And also they can ask you, hey, Azure Data Factory, do you have a way to find out how much you paid for each of the pipeline? So maybe you has been running this pipeline and this pipeline runs sometime 20 minutes, sometime 30 minutes, and now they are interested to see how much is charged for each of the pipeline. Honestly, Microsoft does not provide any tab or just a filter where we can go ahead and say like, oh, I would like to check the bill for my single pipeline. So that's not going to be possible straightforward, but we can calculate by ourselves. So for each of the activity using that pipeline, we have to calculate and then add that up to come up with the pricing for the execution of one pipeline. And that's good idea actually, before you actually go ahead and run 1,000 or maybe hundreds of pipelines and then see like, oh, I am paying more money than what I was paying my on-premises, maybe the SSIS, instead of Azure Data Factory, and cloud is not the right solution for me when it comes to ETL solutions. Now let's go ahead and take a look on first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the billing. So I went here in Azure portal and then I went to the cost analysis. So from here I went to the cost management and billing and then cost analysis. So cost management here, and now you will see right here cost analysis. Once you click right there, and it's gonna get you all the information for your cost. Now we can do this, there are different filters available, and in my case I'm gonna go with the cost by resource because I would like to see how much charges are paid by my data factory. And here is my data factory, and I can click right there, and you can see I've been charged for cloud monitoring operation, I've been charged for cloud read-write operations, and for the pipeline activity, and for orchestration activity run. My accent is also weird, and some of my English is broken. Honestly, like some of the keywords I cannot pronounce well. So I did try to come up with the orchestration part of it, but forgive me for that one. So anyways, then you have manage VNet pipeline activity. So I created the managed IR, and that's what the charge is, $1. And then I have a data flow general purpose that I uses 4.70. Okay, this all what we are going to do, we are going to try to make sense of it. Most of the demos what I have used copy activity, and in one of them I used the data flow, and one of the was I was using private endpoint. That's where this charge you are seeing. Now how we read this and put that together, and how we calculate. Let's go to the Microsoft website and take example, and then we will do the calculation by ourselves. Okay, that's gonna be easy for us to do that. Now in the Microsoft website we are seeing different type of scenarios. So right here, if we will go with this scenario, they are saying that you have Amazon S3 linked service. So it means we are creating a data set that need to read the data from Amazon S3. Now you have link service, and then you have data set, right? And then you have scheduled trigger. So you run at some time, and then there is a copy activity is used to read the data from Amazon S3 and then output that data to the Azure Blob storage. And you for sure you have to create the link service for Azure Blob storage, and then data set has to be created as well. Now you have seen my videos in Azure Data Factory how to use copy activity. Not a big deal. Same, creating two link services, two data sets, and then use the copy activity to perform copy operation. Now this price is given here. So first of all, create linked service. So there are charges for that one, and in this case, if you notice, we have two linked services. One is Amazon S3, another one is Azure Blob storage. So there are two entities. So for linked services, two entities, right? Now And then we have create data sets. So there are 4 read write entities, 2 data set for creation and 2 for linked services reference. So you see right there, this data set is created here, this data set is created, so there are 2 data sets and their references to the our linked services. So there are 4 total entities. Now creating pipeline will be considered as well. So there are total 3 read write entities, 1 for pipeline creation and 2 for references for the data sets, because our pipeline is using 2 data sets, if you notice right there. And then there is a get pipeline. So one entity is a read write entity will be used to get the pipeline definition, and then to run the pipeline definition we use 2 entities, so one for the trigger run and one for the activity run. Okay, so these are all if you calculate and there is a then we are performing actual copy right there. So if your copy activity run for 10 minutes and each of you know that a copy activity user DIUs, and by default is going to be 4 DIUs. So if you will multiply 10 with 4, that's going to give you the total with multiply actual amount, that is a 0.25, that's a rate. And then we have monitor pipeline assumption only. So for monitoring, you saw those messages, pipeline run, pipeline activity runs and all that. Also 2 entities will be used here. Okay, so 2 units. Now let's add this scenario how they calculate. Now what you need to do, first of all, data factory operations. This is not copying data, this is only data factory operations. So that these are all the entities you are considering for the data factory operations. Now let's go to the Azure data factory pricing here and see right there, this link tells you data factory operations. Now to read and write, there are 50 cents per 50,000 modified reference entities. So you see right there, read write operations for Azure data factory entities include create, read, update, delete. Entities include the datasets, link services, pipeline integration, runtime, and triggers. So for all those type of operations, if there are 50,000 of them, then you will be charged for 50 cents. And monitoring, that's also right there. Monitoring operation include get the list for pipeline, get activity, trigger, and the debug runs. So if there are 50,000 of those, then you will be charged 0.25. So in the other tab, if you see right there, this person has taken those 50,000 first with the 50 cents divided by 50,000, he got the read write for 1. So this is the cost for read write for 1 operation right there. Okay, so he multiplied the read write. So if you notice here, this is 10, right? So 2, 4, and then this becomes 6, then 9 and 10. And remember that this is our all data factory operation. So this becomes a 10 right there, right? So and this is for 1 read and write, that's the price right there. So once you multiply with that, this is the price for 1 read and write, because for 50,000 this is the price, and then you divide with 50,000, that will give you for 1, and then you have 10 of them, you multiply with the actual number, and that get the output right there. Now for monitoring us, there are 2 units right there, and if you guys remember, let me take you back. This is the price, so 0.25 divided by 50,000, that's going to give you for 1 value. So see right there, right here, yep, 0.25 divided by 50,000. So this is the price you're going to pay for that monitoring. So there are 2 units involved here, and then you will multiply with that. So this is going to give you data factory operation. So if you notice that this amount is very small, so not a big deal, but if you have a lot of activities, you have a lot of data set, this will contribute to some extent. So this is nothing too much to worry about, but this does add up. Okay, now with the pipeline orchestration and execution, that's where the actual amount comes through. So activity runs, if you notice here, there are 2 run pipeline here, and then you are multiplying with the amount. So it's $1 per 1,000. So if you go back here, this is where you are seeing that chart. So see right there, orchestration, and you have $1 per thousand. So you divide $1 with 1,000, it will give you amount for one run, and then you are gonna multiply that. So that's what he did, because he ran one time, and he charged 0.002 for activity runs. So this is your orchestration, and then you're gonna go data moment activity. That means actual copy activity. So there are charges of 0.25 per hour, for each DIUs. So 0.25 DIUs multiply. He did for 10 minutes. So here is the amount is gonna be like this. So if you are 0.25 for copy activity and there are 4 DIUs, right? So you will be charged for 1 hour, and that's you will be charged $1. Now he calculated for divided by different. Let's say divided by. So you have divided by 60. That will give you per minute. So now you have this rate coming up with the this, and then what you did, you have this number multiplied 10 because you ran for 10 minutes. Okay, and that's what you got, 166. So for copy activity you pay is $1.25. Let me see, copy activity is $0.25 dollars per DIU per hour. That's what you pay. So if you are using 4, most of the time as a default you are using 4, and the max you can use is 256 DIUs. So if you are copying a lot of files, or you have a lot bigger file, you will be using more DIUs. Now this is the price, and then I divide this number. So 4 DIUs multiplied 0.25, that's our copy activity price per hour per DIU, multiply 4 DIUs divided by 60 minutes. So I got this data for 1 minute, and then if I multiply this 1 minute price with the 10 minutes, that's gonna give me the 10-minute price for copy activity. Okay, that looks good. And now, so adding that all up, that will add to the $0.1681. So if your copy activity is running from reading the data from S3 and writing to the Azure Blob Storage, it runs for 10 minutes. The total price you are going to pay is 0.1681. This is 0.17 cents, or 17 cents. Okay, let's go further, a little more detail. This is exactly the same scenario where you have copy activity and then you have data break activity. So the only difference is in the data break activity, I want to mention that it's called external pipeline activity. Okay, so rest of that calculation is exactly same. But let's say you are running a store procedure from Azure SQL database or a Databricks notebook that runs for 4 hours. You are not going to pay for 4 hour money just for the all the time. You are going to pay some very small amount, because these are called external activities and they are way cheaper, because you are not really running anything on the data factory, but actually you just started the process there, like such as store procedure. You ran it and then it's just sitting there, and your Azure data factory is waiting it to get completed. So if that runs, you see that it's a 0.00025 per hour. So it's a very small amount that you are going to pay. So for external activities such as store procedure, Databricks notebook, jar, or Python and all that, you are not going to pay for actual execution, because the execution is happening on these, in case of store procedure, it is happening on Azure SQL database. And in case of notebook, it's running on the Databricks notebook. That's where you will be paying the price for it. But ADF is only going to charge you for kind of starting and just keep it alive till the whole store procedure finish, or notebook return the status. So these are called external pipeline activities. So they're a very small amount per hour, you can see right there. So let's go back here and see right there, he calculated for 10 minutes. So this is the price for per hour, then he can divide by 60 to get to for a minute, and then he multiply with 10, he got 0.00041 in this case. Now rest of the calculation you already know how to calculate for pipeline. You have to pay for linked services, you have to put the data set, you have to pay the create pipeline, get pipeline, and run pipeline. Now let's go to one more scenario, and yeah, let's see if there is anything else there. Okay, yeah, these scenarios are pretty much same here, but I'm gonna go for one scenario by myself and show you here. Now one other thing is called the data flow. That's data flow is totally used as a different way. So once you have data flow, let's say you start using data flow here, now you will be paying for starting this is your data flow, and the Spark cluster has to be started. Now that is a vCores. Okay, so depending on how many vCores you need for the data flow. So in case instead of using copy activity in our example, let's say if I want to use the data flow, my data flow rates are here. Okay, so if I will just use data flow charges. Okay, so you have this much per week or per hour. Okay, so I'm gonna just this much dollar per week or per hour. Okay, so now most of the time you're gonna have 8 vCores anyways with the starting. So if you will run for 1 hour, what will happen? Let's say, or for 10 minutes, the same calculation if we do, but we had you know, with the multiply 8 vCores, you know, and then you run for 10 minutes. So let's say for 1 hour with the 8 vCores, you are going to pay $2.19 for 1 hour, and if you will divide with the 60, so you have to get let's say for if I want to get per minute, so I'm gonna do with the divide by 60. So it's gonna give me the rate for per minute, and now if I have to do multiply 10, so you will see the rate for 10. So you see that this is coming a little more than the copy activity. So data flow is it is 0.27, and then also depends upon the vCores, you know. So if you are going to have a 4 plus 4 8 vCores, you know, in a copy activity you had 4 DIUs. Here you have to have minimum probably 8 vCores, you know, if you're working. Now there are two type of rates in the data flow. If you see right there, I have a vCores per hour 0.27, and then I have a 0.43, and it says memory optimized. Now think about a scenario where you are using this Spark cluster, and you need to use this data flow in Azure Data Factory that using a lot of lookups. So one bad part about Microsoft here, I really honestly really hate this part of it, because now you are telling me I have per vCore here, right? But this does not give me the memory. So if I will create let me take you to the Azure Data Factory here. Now I'm in the Azure Data Factory and go to integration runtime, and if I create a new integration runtime, it does not give me how much memory will be given to me. So if I create this Azure IR and data flow runs, you see that I have to have a 4 plus 4, so 4 vCores and 4 driver cores. Okay, so you see that every time I select anything, so it's a 60 vCores plus 16 driver cores for the Spark cluster, so that adds up. But if I select anything here, it does not tell me how much memory is given to me. Now if I'm doing 18 cores vCores here, I have no idea if the Spark cluster is giving me 10 GB or 20 GB. So if I need to pull the data and put into lookup or do aggregation or sort in my data flow, I have no way to find out. Sometime my data flow will fail out of memory or some other exception. Then Microsoft tells you like, hey, go ahead and increase your vCores. That means it will also increase your memory. But it would be great if you tell me how much memory it is there when you have 16-week cores. Now Microsoft say, okay, go ahead and use the max of it, so you can use 256. And if your data flow is still failing, now you need to work a little better. So now in this case, you see that this is general purpose, you will go with the memory optimizer. Still does not say that how much memory is given to you, but this cluster is more memory optimized. Okay, great. So they have two of these, general purpose and memory optimized Spark clusters that you can do in the setting, and they have a maximum of 256 week cores available. So in this case 256 plus 16. So you see right there, so every time you add this is extra cores added as a driver cores. Now here most of the time people struggle like me. Let's say he started with the V8 V cores, and then it runs for 10 minutes. So this is the price I'm paying. Now if my data factory runs for 30 minutes, so and data flow, sorry, so I'm paying $1 and all that, right? Now this is the, if this does not work with this 8 week course, maybe I will, it runs for a long time, and I said like, oh, let me enhance this. So I'm gonna go with another setting, and then I'm gonna see like, oh, let me go with the create an IR, and I'm gonna do 32 plus 16, that's 48. So if I will do that, let me go back here, so 48 here. So now you are providing 48, and then I got the price for 48. So this is much for each minute. And now if I will provide for this 30 minutes, that's $6. So for each 48 week course for 1 hour, I'm paying almost $13. Now if still it does not work, then I have to do another one, maybe with the memory, because I'm using lookup, aggregate, sort, and all that. Then I'm gonna go with the 373 or whatever, and then I get the price for one, with the 40 week course per minute, and then I'm gonna multiply this amount with the my 30 minutes and get that going. So now I will be paying $9 almost, So with the memory optimized, you will be paying more, and with the general core, you will be paying less. There is no straight way how much your pipeline is going to use. So I will suggest to start with the 8 week course, test it out. If it doesn't work, go with the next one and next one. Few other things with the data flow. Once your cluster is created, it's not running multiple data flows the same way you run in your Azure SSIS. So in SSIS, if you guys remember, you create the SSIS package here, and this package have different data flows here, so you can run them in parallel. But in the data factory, there is no way you will be running. So for each of the data flow, you have to have a separate Spark cluster. So but if you finish one, you can say use the same cluster for the second one and for the third one. So but you are not running 3 data flows parallel on one single Spark cluster. That's a problem. So that's also costly. So if you are running 5 different data flows in your pipeline, and think about that, each one is in 30 minutes, you are paying multiply 5, so if there are 5 data flows, and your pipeline is finishing in 30 minutes, and all of them are using for 30 minutes, you will be paying almost $45 for just one run. That can add up. And again, as I said, that if you're having a problem with the memory, it's lookups or aggregate and all different types of transformation, then you are gonna use the memory optimized. That's more rate. Also, one of the other thing, this is a very bizarre data factory data flow will bill for the managed disk and blob storage required to data flow execution and debugging. Now you are creating this Spark cluster, and let's say you are using this lookups and other transformations, and now it's not fitting into the memory, so maybe it will use some extra disks, and those will be charged. So there is no way you would know that, like, oh, you're charging me 0.34 per week or per hour, but how much you are charging me for the data let's say if it will need to write to the disk, so are you charging me for 20 GB $1 per hour, or you are charging me $2 for 20 GB for 1 hour? So that disk can also include tons of money. So you need to really sort that out, like which settings you need to use. So there are very few of the hidden things I will not really like about it. I would be more visible, or Microsoft has provide more things like, hey, if a disk will be used because everything cannot fit into the Spark cluster memory, and the many disks will be created and they will be used during your Spark cluster, and this is the billing. So that will be very nice. They have the note here, but I don't really buy that without a lot more details. Also, you are billed for this region I selected is East US. For the East US 2, you have probably different price. And I don't know, for North America, let's see, for European, you can see right there, you have Korean, South Korea, you are paying more, or less. So depending on the different countries, the billing is available. For some of them is not available. And see right there, this billing is less from the previous version, previous region we saw that. So these two links, what you are going to use, this is the two links I'm going to put in the description, so you can create your example and then you will use this one. If I will be you, I will create an Excel and then write all these prices for 1 unit, and then just place my values there, and at the end I can think of like, oh, my data flow is running these many activities, these many are for data movement, these many are for just pipeline activities, and then put those numbers in my Excel, and then see the number after, like, oh, my pipeline run for 20 minutes, how much I will pay. So you want to build some program on your Excel with the formulas where you can add all those values for an estimated execution times, and then get the estimated amount that you will pay for each of the time of the execution of your pipeline. I hope this video will help and to understand how the billing work in Azure Data Factory, and how the pipeline billing can be calculated depending upon the different numbers I showed you here, and how you will add up all those numbers. I thank you for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.